How many relationships in your life are being quietly damaged by expectations that you never actually communicated? Because most people don't think they have an expectation problem. They think they have a people problem. They should have known. They should have done better. I shouldn't have to explain it like that. But right there, that's where the breakdown starts. This is the Double Edge Factor, where high performance meets peace of mind and faith meets focus. I am your host, Rod Manuel, and peace and blessings unto you. Before we get going, be sure to like, follow, and hit that subscribe button, because the more positive interactions you put out there, the more they push this podcast to people who've never heard it before, which, of course, will allow us to grow, reach new ears, and have a greater impact on more people around the world. And if you want to perform and live at your highest level, head on over to rodmanuel.com. That's RODMANUEL.com. Join that email list and remember to like, follow, and subscribe. All right, let's get something straight. Unspoken expectations are silent contracts that nobody agreed to, but you still hold people accountable for. And that can be dangerous because in your mind, it's clear. If they care, they'll do this. If they respect me, they won't do that. If they're solid, they'll show up like this. But here's the truth. Clarity in your mind does not equal communication in reality. So now you're measuring people against a standard they never heard. And when they fall short, you don't address it. You don't internalize. That's when the resentment starts. It builds slowly, quietly, and consistently. Let's talk about friendships. You have a friend that you're always there for. You've always been the one who checks in. You show up, you support, you make time. So naturally, you expect the same energy back, but you never said that. So when they don't call, or they don't check in, or when they don't show up the way you think they should, you start feeling some type of way about it. You start pulling back. Your whole attitude changes. Your tone changes. Your availability shifts. And from their perspective, everything got a little weird, just out of nowhere. Now the friendship is strained, not because they didn't care, but because they didn't know. All right, let's go a little deeper. Let's talk about marriages. Unspoken expectations turn into ongoing tension. You expect your partner to communicate a certain way, handle responsibilities a certain way, show affection a certain way. But instead of expressing that clearly, you assume it's obvious. They should know me by now. So what happens? They move how they think is right, but you interpret it as neglect. So now you're frustrated, you're short, you're pissed, you're disconnected. And now they're sitting there just confused because in their mind, they're doing their part. See, unspoken expectations create a cycle. Start with assumption that lead to disappointment, that lead to silence, that lead to resentment. And over time, that erodes the connection. Let's bring it to work. You're managing a team. You expect them to have initiative, attention to detail, ownership, right? But you never clearly define what that looks like. So your team operates based on their own understanding. And when they miss the mark, you get frustrated and say to yourself, man, I know they should have known better. But really, should they? Or do you skip the step of clarity? Because leadership without clear expectation creates confusion, not performance. Let's address the real issue. Why don't we communicate expectations? Well, there's a few reasons. We assume it's obvious. We want people to just get it, and we avoid those uncomfortable conversations. But not only that, we don't want to seem like we're demanding. But here's the reality. Avoiding clarity doesn't protect the relationship. It actually weakens it, because now everything is based on guesswork. And you know what guesswork? It just starts to create inconsistency. All right, I want you to take a look at Jonah. God gave Jonah clear instructions to go to Nineveh. Jonah didn't want to go. So instead of addressing it directly, he avoided it. He ran. And then what followed? Chaos followed. A storm followed. And fear. See, confusion was created for everybody around him. Now, I want you to think about that. The issue wasn't just disobedience. It was lack of alignment and communication. Jonah didn't express his resistance. He didn't deal with it head on. And his silence created problems, not just for him, but for everybody connected to him. You see, that's what unspoken issues do. They don't stay contained. They start to spill over. Let's be honest about the cost. Unspoken expectations lead to miscommunication, emotional distance, frustration, and also broken trust. Not because people are intentionally failing you, but because they are operating without clarity. You're holding people accountable for a version of them that only exists in your mind. And that's not really fair. And what's more, it's not really effective. Okay, here's the shift. Stop expecting people to read your mind. Start communicating with standards. Clearly, directly, respectfully. Instead of "they should know," I suggest trying "here's what matters to me." Instead of "they don't show up," try "I need consistency in this area." You see, clarity creates alignment, and alignment builds trust. So, I want you to ask yourself, where am I expecting something I've never clearly expressed? Where am I frustrated but silent? Where am I assuming instead of communicating? That's your work. Here's how we fix it. Identify one expectation you've been holding silently. Number 2, communicate it clearly, not emotion, just clarity. Number 3, give the person a chance to respond and adjust. And number 4, observe actions, not assumptions. This isn't about controlling people. It's more about creating a better understanding. And with that, I will leave you with today's double-edged message. Unspoken expectations create frustration and distance because people are being judged against standards that they never, ever were aware of. Clear, direct communication is essential to building trust, alignment, and strong relationships in every area of your life. So say it, define it, and stand on it. Because clarity, it isn't just confrontation. It's respect. That is it for today. If this episode added value, clarity, or even one push you needed, share it. Share it with just one person who needs to hear it. The only way we grow this podcast is when you guys share it. The more you share, the greater impact we can have on more people around the world. And if you want to perform and live at your highest level, head on over to rodmanuel.com. That's RODMANUEL.com, where you will find resources, coaching tools, and more to help you live, lead, and perform at your highest level. You can also order a copy of my latest book, Faith on Demand, which is also available on Amazon, as well as other exclusive content. And as I always say, be intentional with your words, be intentional with your thoughts, and be intentional with your actions. And always find a way to be a blessing to someone else today.